Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by Eric.
Hello.
And it's another episode of Don't Touch My Grapes, our continued Falcon Crest coverage. Today we're talking about season 1, episodes 9 through 13. So I'll roll the credits and we'll get right into it. So, episode 9 is called Dark Journey. And I have Angela uses an old friend to make Douglas jealous. I loved this episode just simply because of that. The
Yeah.
painter.
Yeah.
Like when when she was with Lance at it wasn't the
The
opera, it was a
museum.
play. Was it a play or something? Or
Oh,
a
I thought it,
museum?
it was the art museum, I thought.
Yeah, and she ran into Douglas and the recently widowed woman that he was with.
Yes.
She took every opportunity to make Douglas jealous.
Yeah.
I loved
Well, he
it.
was with a woman himself.
Uh
Um,
huh. um,
and that woman is June Lockhart from Lost in Space and also the Colbys. She was in a couple episodes. Did you watch the Colbys yet?
no, I own it for like 4 years
Okay.
now, but I have yet to open it because I'm not up to that part of Dynasty, so I don't want to like jump too far ahead in that timeline.
Well, you will see her. And she's also in an episode of Knots Landing, but I can't remember which one.
Hmm.
She's in like one. Yeah.
Vicky is kind of sick of the rules of the house and being told what to do, and Lance kind of offers for her to run away and become like a famous actress in the city.
Yeah.
So he hooks her up with a friend that he knows who's an actress. She works at a diner, so Vicky ends up, getting a job at the diner to pay her expenses. Um, but it seems that this woman is kind of like a recruiter almost for
Hmm.
a porn producer. I
Yeah.
liked how so then Chase and Maggie are like frantic looking for her because they don't know where she is. Um, they find out that Lance was like the last person to see her, so they're like, "Where is she? We know you know where she is."
Yeah.
um, when they find out about the guy, I like how they're like how they said pornography like it was such a huge like it was such a terrible thing.
I know you're thinking like somebody's gonna be killed or something, and she's like, he's into pornography, and it goes to a commercial
It's
break. You're like,
dun dun dun.
not porn.
Excuse me. What is the name of this acting teacher?
Michael something. Michael West?
Your daughter could be in real trouble.
You know this West?
I know of him. Everyone who works with kids in the city does.
Where do we find him?
Well, he keeps moving around. 1 month he's an acting coach, the next he's grooming future models. He usually works out of the Fulton Avenue Tenderloin area, but he's never in the same place 2 months running.
Where would we start looking for him?
Under every wet rock you can find, honey. I want you to ask questions, but I want you to ask the right kinds of questions, and you might be able to find him.
The right questions?
What I mean is, don't come on like parents, or you'll never find her. It can get pretty dangerous out there, you know.
I don't think my daughter would get involved in anything dangerous.
Mrs. Giaberti, Michael West makes pornographic movies.
So Vicky starts taking some of the acting classes with this guy, and he's kind of grooming her. So when they eventually go to shoot a scene, he tells her to unbutton her shirt, and she's like, "That wasn't how we rehearsed it."
Yeah.
But Chase and Maggie come to see today. I will say, even though I am not the biggest Chase fan, there was something about him in that jacket he was wearing in this episode. I was like, he's kind of cute. I was kind of feeling Chase a little bit in this episode.
So you do know the porn guy was Michael Zaslow, right?
Okay, why do I know that name? Who is he?
Because he's the biggest guiding light villain ever, I think.
Okay, that's
He
why I
was,
know.
yeah, you know him. Who was he? Roger? I think his name was Roger on there.
Yeah, I think so.
He was also in One Life to Live and many other shows.
What else you got for that episode?
I have to mention Julia. She was not in it, but she was in Paris.
Okay. I'm surprised
Not
she didn't
and
run it. I'm surprised she didn't run into Jacqueline.
it would have been kind of funny if that happened later on when Jacqueline
Or if
arrived.
that was
but
the reason why Jacqueline came back, because she ran into Julia in Paris.
wouldn't that have been cool? They really should have done something like that. I would have loved it. But what else? I have that. Oh, Angie wanted Emma to invite Douglas to the house while her picture was being painted by Arthur.
Yes, and it was masked as Emma, you should spend time with your father, or you should spend more time with Emma.
But it has to be at noon.
Yes.
And I'm here, and Arthur's here.
So when that scene first opened and they just showed like the painting, like the paintbrush, I was like, she does paints in that room. Because remember when you were like, I think she only sculpted
Right.
this that one time, but then it was the painting
Yeah.
and her, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yes.
That was a good painting though. He did a good job if that was really him.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't keep that painting up through the years, but I think they only have it in a few episodes.
Like the jock painting on Dallas.
Yeah.
Or Stefano on Days.
I must mention the musical montage when they were looking for Vicky. That was
Oh
fun.
yeah. such a product of its time.
I know, right? Well, no, they use that a lot in One Tree Hill. Remember, they have a ton of musical montages, if I remember correctly. I haven't watched it in a long time.
That is true. That is true. Usually towards
But-
the end of an episode, they'll use it as like a cliffhanger device.
So everybody looking dramatic and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, I have that. Michael threw Vicky on the bed, Chase busts in, punches them, and spits on him.
Does he?
Yeah, you don't remember seeing that? Yeah, he
No.
punched him and he went, spit on him and then threw him down. I didn't remember that until I saw it the other night, and I was like, wow. All right. And then Angie basically used Arthur because in the end of the episode, he's like, "Oh, we're not going to see each other again," because she pays the money for the portrait.
Mhm.
And he was doing it as a gift, but now she was using him.
Yeah, and he Douglas wins again.
Sorry. Yeah. And that's all I got, I believe.
All right, episode 10 was called Victims. And my first note is Julio is played by A. Martinez
Yeah.
from Santa Barbara fame and General
my
Hospital and
first note.
Days. Because I was like, wait a minute,
Everything.
I know this face.
I think A. Martinez was in every soap, actually. I think he was in everything, like Young and the Restless, Bold. He's like in everything.
He was on
How is
the
he not in
Restless?
anything new? Yeah, I believe he was. I can't remember exactly who he played. I want to say it was like 2010 or 11, but I
I
can't
didn't know that.
remember. He wasn't
think-
in it like a little bit. Like even in Bold, he was only like a doctor in a few episodes or something like that. Like he wasn't in it long.
I've only recently started the Bay for the podcast, but I think he's on the Bay. I think I saw his name
Mhm.
listed in the IMDb credits.
I love the Bay. I still got to watch the last season. Didn't I?
A big thing that happened in this episode, Emma is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Julia, you know I have a lot to do. If you have something to say, say it.
Emma is pregnant.
Emma?
Turner Bates.
Is this the episode where she was like, something about tricks?
Yeah, I have that. I have that written down.
How did she say it? How were
I
the
have
tricks?
Emma brings a letter to Turner, who's dead,
Mhm.
tells for Angie to deliver to the post office or wherever she's going. And she says, "How's tricks?"
How's tricks? That's what she
And then she
says.
read it in the book, and then she asked Maggie and Chase, "How's tricks?" And then at the end, I think she says it again.
I just like how Angie was like, "Don't say that. That's like not appropriate to say." Or
She hates it.
and
I
then she's
know.
just like, "How's tricks?"
I love it.
That's one thing Emma does that I always love. She loves to like dig at Angie. Also, I love calling
Hmm.
Angela Angie. When I realized you were calling her Angie, I love it when they do that on the show because I feel
Yeah.
like she would hate it. They never really say it to her face. I think maybe every once in a while they slip and do. It's usually
Yeah,
just when
every
they're
once in a
talking
while.
about her, they'll say Angie. But I would love it if they would just do it just to get under her skin.
For sure.
Emma, let's go back upstairs, okay?
How's tricks, Lance? I read that in a book, and it's so much fun to say. How's tricks?
Emma, don't use that expression. It isn't very ladylike.
How's tricks with you, Mother?
Emma, come on. Let's go back upstairs, okay? Upstairs.
It is funny. But yeah,
so
Emma
she
does like
wants.
to dig at her when she can.
So when she finds out she's pregnant, she obviously wants to keep it. Lance and Julia are both like, that's another person that could take away from our inheritance. but Lance is a little bit more serious about it. He finds Emma in the winery, kind of like having flashbacks to the night that Jason died, and she kind of is like reacting to it as if it's happening in real time. And
Right.
Lance overhears this because he's one of the members of the family that doesn't actually know what happened the first time. He like thinks that Jason died driving his car off the cliff. And he starts like shaking Emma, like, "What happened? Like, what were you saying?" And she ends up falling and losing the baby,
Yeah, it was
which
quick.
devastates her.
I know. It's so sad. She's like, I just wanted someone to love me, and I'm like,
Uncle Jason. It's all right. No, Uncle Jason, stop.
Stop what? Come on, Emma, stop what? What did Uncle Jason do? Emma, you can tell me about it. Come on, and make you feel a lot better.
No. No, I really don't remember.
Oh, sure you do, Emma. It didn't happen that long ago. Try to remember.
I'm not supposed to.
Who says?
I want to go back to my room now.
Emma, you're not trying.
You let me go!
Emma, you're not trying, Emma. You're not trying. Emma!
Wow. And then Angela at the end was like, "We love you. I love you. You're my daughter." And she's like, "No." She was like, "You like Falcon Crest. You like things, not people. You love things, not people."
yeah.
And Angela's
She
kind
said
of
no.
like hurt by that, but
Yeah, she said no, Mother. You love Falcon Crest. You love a place, not people.
Mhm.
And that gave me chills. I was just like, oh man. And Angie's like, I think you're right.
She was just kind of like, she's on to me.
Oh, and then we have what Julio was doing the whole time, which I feel like that would have been better to play out throughout the season. It was just like one episode. Julio's picking on all the pickers and the families, and then he's caught at the end. I'm like, I feel like they could have done something with that.
Yeah, so what was he doing? He was like paying,
He was extorting families or whatever. Like he was
saying that he was gonna call immigration and have them deported if they didn't.
Mhm. Yeah, for money, basically.
And Maggie kind of gets wind of this, and she doesn't know it's him at first, but she's trying to do a story on it. And I felt bad when the little girl was kind of translating for her grandmother, and then she got all scared. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
little girl."
I know. Poor little girl.
So I guess I thought that Maggie had quit the New Globe. Is she still working for them, or is she just freelancing?
No, remember in that episode, and or I don't remember, whenever she got that job, she still got to do the work, but she didn't have to do as much work. Douglas let her do like
Oh, okay.
Monday through Friday, like day shift, basically. You don't have to stay past
Oh,
one or something. They worked out a
oh,
deal.
oh, okay.
So she still works for them, but it's just whenever she feels like it, kind of type of thing. Because Douglas is a
Gotcha.
great guy, like, you know.
Yeah.
I I also have. I'm surprised you didn't say this one. That Maggie, when Maggie drives by Emma, she's sitting on a log, just like sitting in the middle of nowhere. It just cracked me up. And then she's like, "I want to talk to Vicky. I want to talk to Vicky." All right. Maggie's like, "Okay."
Do you have anything else?
Uh, Julio, Liz, alright,
Mario is kind of made to feel bad because was that in this episode? Because he's dating Vicky
mm,
because of his
yeah, he gets
heritage.
he gets beat up by the Julio and the men or
Hmm.
whoever. Yeah, I think that was it. I think that's about all.
Uh, Episode 11 was called For Love or Money,
Mm,
and Angela has been visiting a woman named Elizabeth at least once a week. Apparently, she used to bring Julia, but now she brings Lance. And this woman was romantically involved with Jason at one point. Um,
yes.
I guess the Giabertis are trying to like redo the bedroom or whatever, and or did they find like a blueprint that there may have been another room in the house? Because
Yeah, they found
this,
like some kind of, I said that the secret room that they had been there that Jason covered up or
yeah.
something. It was weird. Yeah.
So
So
they
they're
end up like breaking down the brick wall and finding this room where he finds basically like a diary that
yes.
Jason had wrote, and this woman that Angela comes to visit is brought up a lot throughout the diary.
Yes.
Um, I didn't really pay too close attention to this because I don't love Chase, but was it the grandfather's fault that she had this accident?
I think, well, if you watch the end, it looked like it was Angela's fault.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that's why Chase went to her and confronted her. Chase confronts Angie about Elizabeth's accident. Angie says her children are flawed. She kind of looks guilty, like she may have done it, and just like kind of goes off about her kids. Like
Hmm.
she's like, she doesn't want to tell him that. Yeah, I did it.
Well, she played a
Um,
recording of Jason, but she didn't play the whole
yeah,
recording.
that was awful. I know. That makes me so sad for Chase because he'll never know that his dad really did love him.
Yeah, like Chase leaves, and then she plays the end for us and for her, where he said that he really
He might get
misses.
he might get wind of that tape later. I can't remember. I
Yeah, I don't
forget.
remember. I
I'll
actually don't
find it.
remember any of these later episodes. So I was like, oh, I like this. I forgot Emma got pregnant. Um, I forgot about all these storylines. I forgot. I totally forgot about Douglas and Angela like having like a little side story.
Yeah.
I
And
just
then
remembered that they went on dates, even though they're divorced. That's all I remembered.
and Lance fell in love in 2 minutes.
I wrote that. I put Lance meets a girl named. Okay, so all right, so this is an
Lori.
extension of something else. Um,
Hmm.
so Angela wants Carlo Agretti's land and wants Lance to court his daughter Melissa, who's the only heir. She's an only child. So
Yeah.
Lance is kind of rebelling because he doesn't um, want to marry for like a business transaction. He like wants to marry for love. And I remembered this like early on, like him like kind of hating Melissa because he was forced into the marriage, but that's later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, But yeah, we got to see the first Melissa, who I paid very close attention because I remembered that you said she barely speaks, or she has like one line, and it was
I
literally
was
like
right?
it was literally just her being like, I think she may have been like hi or nice to meet you or whatever, and that's it.
And I think when she left, she said thank you. I think that was it.
Yeah,
When
that was
she,
it.
like when she was leaving, and then Carlo talked to her separate from Melissa.
I'm delighted you could be with us.
Thank you. Melissa, I have something to say to Angela. Why don't you wait in the car for me, yeah?
Okay. It was wonderful.
Good night, darling.
Good night.
Don't you have to have like 5 lines to get a SAG card? Maybe they were like, we're not giving her a SAG card. Just give her 2 lines.
Yeah, right. Seriously, poor thing.
And then I was like, okay. I was like, I could see a mild resemblance to the actress that takes over.
Yeah.
Just mild. But I could see why I didn't remember because she didn't speak. And
It's a sin.
and there was like we didn't get to meet the other Melissa yet. There were so many episodes where she wasn't even in it that they were probably like, they're not gonna remember. We could do whatever we want with this character.
Right.
But like you said, Lance meets a girl on the side of the road who has her bike and stuff, and he like runs over her bike. They fight a little bit. He offers to buy her new bike, and they fall in love.
Yeah.
And he wants to. He tries to break the news to Angela that he wants to move to San Francisco to work at the Falcon Crest headquarters, and she's like, no.
Now, this girl who plays Lori, that's Cindy Morgan,
Who's that?
She comes back later in season 6 and plays a love interest for Chase. Gabrielle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's her?
That's her, yeah.
Huh.
She was on it twice and she played 2 different characters.
I don't normally like when shows do that, but I didn't even remember. I didn't even notice.
Another thing I'm not sure of too, and I might not have caught it, I forget if she's recasted because remember when Melissa, well, I guess we can't get too far ahead, but Melissa, when he gets involved with Melissa Moore as Anna Alicia comes on, he's still dating that woman on the side. I think that's supposed to be this girl, but I can't remember, to be honest with you. I'll have to look as we watch.
We'll have to pay attention. I do remember he is kind of
Yeah.
seeing someone.
Remember, yeah.
A blonde,
I think it might
too.
be the same girl, but I think it's the same girl, but I'm not 100% sure if it's supposed to be the same girl. But I know this one is only in this one episode.
All right.
Until later.
Attention.
Yeah, right. For the little details.
Obviously, Angela puts a stop to this relationship. She really, honestly, she just really can't handle how tied to Falcon Crest Lance is, and that she just kind of is looking to the future, and it's like it's not going to work. Like, you were born into this. Like, Angela getting you as a child, like, you never stood a chance.
I kind of felt bad for her too, even though they were in love for 5 seconds. I was just like, oh, she really does love, what? Like, you can't really love someone after that sort of time.
When Lance was like trying to beg her to like not to do this or whatever, like so they could work it out, he was so monotone. I was like, ooh. I was like, she's putting in work, and he's just like, no, don't leave me.
Well, him, like his mother, can never leave Falcon Crest. And
Yes.
she knows it, obviously. Just by knowing him for 5 minutes, she got that. So,
Do you have anything else for that episode?
Oh, I did. But hold on. Oh, I love the part when Emma talks to Julia in the what is it called? Julia's lab or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "We don't say angry. We say mad. Sorry, we don't say mad.
We say
angry. Yeah."
And I thought it was
like,
because then Maggie comes in and she's like, Maggie, do you say angry or mad? And then she didn't like even wait for an answer. She just closed the door.
She just creepily goes away.
Like, what is wrong with her?
I love that part.
Julia, I was just thinking that maybe I could work on something in here. I miss Lance.
I do too. He'll be back by Saturday.
You know what I miss most? His car. It roars and screeches.
Yes, he does drive too fast, doesn't he?
Only when he's mad. Oh, no, we don't say that, do we? We say angry.
Yes, we say angry.
Mad is quite another thing.
Hi. Oh, am I interrupting something?
Yes.
No, come in.
Because I can come back later.
No, come in.
Maggie. Do you say angry or mad?
And I feel like Julia said something like she's just extra unhinged today or something. Like that's normal.
Yeah. Normal Emma.
She's a little too stimulated today.
Yeah, right. Have Maggie and Chase visit with Elizabeth. They find out a little bit of the history, and I guess that's what leads to Chase confronting Angela at the end. Let's see. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
Nothing much happened at the dinner with Carlo, but that's the first time we were introduced to Carlo, who's a bigger character, in a
But
little
Lance
bit.
was there with this. Lance was there with this other girl, and he noticed that Lance couldn't keep his eyes off of her, and which was not boding well for his plan for Angela and his plan for their Lance and Melissa to get married, because he doesn't want his daughter marrying someone that's going to have eyes for other women.
And Angela invited Cole as the distraction, I guess, for Lori. I'm guessing that's why she invited him. Yeah. Oh, and then I did notice at the beginning of this. This was directed by Lorenzo Lamas' dad, Fernando.
Oh, was it?
Right before he passed. Yeah, I think he passed either that year or the year after.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So at least he got to work with his son, for a little bit.
Yeah. Episode 12 was called Family Reunion. And let me just say this off the bat. Nothing really happened in this episode. It was just kind of like Jacqueline and Angela just trying to get each other, like, basically just like, it was just basically a big cat fight. But I love this episode.
I do too. It's one of my favorite ones.
I loved Maggie like rushing around the house trying to get it clean, like vacuuming and everything, and then like
With
Jacqueline arriving.
Music.
Them saying that Jacqueline's flight landed early, so she's going to be here in 20 minutes. She's like 20 minutes. Her having the curlers in her hair, and then Jacqueline just like showing up without Chase coming to pick her, and her dramatic turnaround and entrance. Her acting style was so like old school acting. It was just very over dramatized, like darling.
Which one, Lana Turner?
Lana Turner.
Yeah.
I loved it though, honestly.
It was like perfect for like she did such a great job with that because I mean look at the character. She's very extravagant with the fur and all that stuff. In France.
I was trying to pay extra close attention to everything she said as far as like the history of like her leaving Falcon Crest with Chase, because I want to see how it meshes with Richard and like later on finding out who Richard's real mother is when we get to that and everything.
Who's Richard?
I love Richard.
Oh, we're gonna fight because I'm not a fan of Richard. See that? We're gonna fight. Now, I do like him sometimes, but like we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Vicky is totally enamored with her because she hasn't seen her since she was a baby. We find out that her and Jason actually met in France, and that he spoke a few languages fluently. That doesn't match up with the drunk that I saw in episode 1, honestly. Like when I look at her, I'm like, yeah, you were with Jason, because
Well, you gotta like.
mismatched.
Well, look at Angie and what she put him through.
That
You
is
know,
true.
she probably tortured him like every day, and he just was like, screw it, drink, and just became a shithead, whatever.
Uh, um, I liked when Angela caught wind that Jacqueline was back, and she was immediately just like tense. And she sent like flowers over with like an invite to dinner, and she just declined dinner, which I'm sure like got under her skin.
I know.
It was just so funny to see somebody be able to get under Angela's skin like that, and for Angela to just feel like she met her match, kind of.
Yeah. You felt the chill in the air in this episode.
Yeah. Jacqueline offers Vicky to come like live in Paris with her and live like that extravagant lifestyle.
And of course, Vicky wants to go because she hates everything.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
she even says to
I'll
Cole,
go
like, you got to go to Italy. This is my time.
He's like, fine, go there for a few years.
So then Jacqueline decides that they're gonna flip the script on Angela and actually have dinner at the Gioberti's and have it catered. That way Maggie doesn't have to cook.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught this, but because you know how Angela's always telling Julia like have another drink or like you drank too much. So when the server came over with the tray, Julia put her empty wine glass and immediately snatched a new one. I was like, oh, there she goes. There she goes.
I sure did. Dude, you need a drink to get through that meal.
But Julia didn't even need to be tense. Like, she wasn't tense. She was just having a good time. But she literally was like, I would have missed this for the world. She wanted to see, like, the cat fight.
Exactly. That was the fun of that episode. Because she's like, yeah, let Emma come. She's like, it's a big family reunion. Like,
yeah,
happy
Emma
family.
came down the stairs all dressed up. And she's like, this is where we say goodnight. And Julia's like, just let her come.
I know. It was good. Angie got it good in this episode a lot.
Yeah. So I had read this on the Wikipedia page that Lana Turner and the actress that plays Angela did not get along.
Okay.
And it was rumored that they block shot their scenes. A block shooting is when they do the close-ups. Mm-hmm. And there was a scene where Angela and her were arguing outside of the house. And it was a lot of those block shots. And I wondered if that's why. And I was like, were they even in the same room at that time? Or were they just reacting to nothing? But then they did have a close-up when Chase came out to see what was going on. And they were both there. And I'm like, was it only for that one moment? Or were they just block shooting because they couldn't stand each other?
I don't know. I read multiple things. I read they were both very professional. And even I think I looked up an interview of Lana Turner. There's an interview about Falcon Crest. And she was talking about how she was going to be going back for more episodes. Mm-hmm. So I guess she was talking about season 2. And she didn't.
I had read that too, that she had gone on like a talk show and she like dispelled all those rumors and said that they were professionals and she spoke like
they might not have been best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how to take Jane Wyman. There's so many stories about her. Like they're either really, really good. Like when I met Cindy Morgan, I think I told you that she had nothing but nice things to say about Jane Wyman. She said like she was the nicest lady. So
that's nice to hear.
She brought her into, the set, and she's like, "This is our set." Like, and she made sure she had a seat at the meetings and stuff. And she said she was like went out of her way. Yeah, and I was like, it's funny because I didn't read that stuff. But I think people. You know how like people want to dramatize things for the show, and they probably did that for publicity. You know what I mean? Like Jane Wyman is actually the monster that she is. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
well, like with Dynasty, they had all their rumors, and I'm sure at least half of them were true because it was Dynasty.
Right.
But I was just wondering if you had heard anything else on that with the show.
Yeah, I've heard many things. But I don't know what to believe. I really don't.
Yeah.
We have to read somebody's autobiography or something. Maybe we'll read it there.
Maggie kind of encourages Chase to just kind of tell Jacqueline how he feels about her before she leaves. And at the airport, he tells her that he loves her, and they have a touching moment. But again, I did laugh because they say goodbye, and as she's walking to get on the plane, Maggie like calls out to her, I guess, to say goodbye, and she like whips around and she's like, Maggie. And I'm like, that was dramatic for no reason. But I loved it.
I know. I feel like, in a way, because they have her on their side, like it kind of felt like we have somebody that we can turn to instead of this crazy bitch that we have to deal with every day of our lives. Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's the way I took it. I feel like I would be that way too. Like, oh, thank God we have you.
Yeah.
And come back, please.
Even Chase
stay
said,
with us.
come stay with us, and I was like, oh, that would have been so good, just to have like her in their house versus Angela.
I would have loved at least 3 seasons with Lana Turner, even like in half the episodes. I think it would have been awesome stuff.
Doesn't she come back in season 1? I feel like doesn't she come back for at least one more episode, not in season 1?
I don't think she does until season 2, but I could be wrong. I'm trying to think. Even if she's in the finale, I can't remember. She might come back in the finale.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out next time.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add on this episode?
Let's see. Yeah, it was just a lot of them talking about like kind of their past and all that. I have that. Angie talked to Lance about Jacqueline, so we learned a little bit about that. I have Mel Ferrer returns as Philip because he's a big part of season 2. I forgot. I thought he was more in it this season than the second, but I forgot he was not. He was only in like the first episode and then this one so far. And then Philip told Angela about Jacqueline's 3 husbands. So Angela finds out that she's rich. Now, I guess she didn't know that. And she has like $50 million or whatever. She's worth $50 million. I did write that down. And then that Jacqueline actually came to town to warn Chase, like, get away from this lady, basically. And that's all I got.
Good advice.
Yeah, seriously. She pretty much begged them.
Right.
Please.
Oh, and Vicky ends up not going to Paris also.
Yeah, which is a big girl decision. Oh, and then I do have. We found out in one episode that she was in high school, so she must be 17.
Yes, I thought about that. Yeah.
I forget when I wrote it somewhere, but I think it was.
There's something about studying. It's probably when she like ran off to go do porn.
Yeah.
I think she said she was studying with Mario and she fell asleep or something. That's why they were yelling at her.
Yeah, in Victims, she said Mario mentions that she's in high school because he's in college and she's in high school.
Right.
So yeah. Sorry, I've had that written and I forgot.
Yeah, I knew that something triggered me and I was like, oh, she's in high school. I just couldn't remember what moment it was.
Yeah, I didn't remember that because they hardly say it. Like, it's weird because you would think when they were looking for her, you would think they'd be like, oh, she's only a senior. I don't know. Like, she's only a little girl. I don't know.
So episode 13 is called The Candidate, and it opens with a man in an office, public office building, being shot to death. It turns out he is part of like the water commission for the valley, which leads to now Chase running for office. And I just like when Maggie was like scared for him to do it, because she's like, "What if the same thing happens to you?" He's like, "That's not gonna happen." Like, okay, I'm sure the other guy would thought the same thing, and then it did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. For sure.
But
I was confused with. I was. Oh, go ahead.
did you notice that his opponent was Larry Welch from Days of Our Lives?
I was gonna say that. I had it down. Yes, I sure did.
I was like, he looks familiar, and I was like, oh, Larry.
And how handsome he was, right?
Yeah, this was like a couple of
he
years before he started on Days.
Yeah.
But my opponent never sees fit to mention his inexperience, naivete, and total unfamiliarity with the problems of this valley.
Peter, let's address ourselves to the issues, not this personal invective, all
Well,
right?
I just think the voters should know what kind of man you are, Mr. Gioberti.
I think by now these people know what kind of man I am and what I stand for.
Here. What my opponent stands for is a paranoia that fears the status quo. And we all have the water we want when we need it. Yet Mr. Gioberti seems to think that we should disrupt a system that has been in operation for over 4 decades in this valley.
Well, that's right, I do. I definitely do. I believe that we, the people of this county, have the right to control our own water resources.
I don't know if he's been in other soaps before that. He could have been, for all I know, but I didn't look him up. But yeah, I did know that was a miss. I love all the soap stars that we see in these episodes.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because when I watch things from back then, a lot of them flip flop. They went primetime dates from daytime to primetime, back to daytime, and sometimes back to primetime.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'll be watching like old Days, and I'll be like, "Oh, he was on Dallas. He went to this after Dallas. How come he didn't continue to work in primetime?"
Yeah, yeah. I guess they have like that's like their day job. And then they're just like, oh, I can do this random episode or whatever.
Like the lawyer on Dynasty was like the original CC Capwell on Santa Barbara. I'm like, oh, he went from Dynasty to daytime, and then he was in. My first encounter with him was on Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. He was like the chaperone teacher on the boat.
Oh, you thought is that what's his name?
I don't know the actor's name. He was the original CC Capwell, and then
the guy that played Andrew Laird.
Yes,
the lawyer.
The
right?
lawyer.
On
the lawyer on Dynasty.
He was I don't know if you ever seen Three's Company, but he's Chrissy's dad on Three's Company. That's where I met him when I was a child.
Yeah, I haven't really watched much Three's Company, so I have seen it, but
yeah, he just believe it or not, he just died like a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, and he looked pretty old back then. But yeah, he just I forget because he did one of those the cons that I go to. He was there like at the Hollywood show a couple years ago, and I was like, still alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
You meet a lot of people.
I mean, just like we should mention Gina Lollobrigida passing away.
Last week, yeah. What season was she in?
Francesca, season
5.
Oh God,
4. It was 4 or 5. It was one of those.
I think 4. I think 4. And I loved her in that. I wish she would have had her around too because she was a fun character.
Yeah.
And then if Richard only knew that he slept with.
I know, right? Oh my God.
We'll talk about that.
So Angela is doing everything she can to keep Chase from winning this election. From like exposing Cole's, arrest in New York for attacking that teacher that Vicky was sleeping with, to there was a guy that offered. He was the father of the original guy, and he like gave Chase like $10 million, 10 million or 10,000. Probably 1,000. 10 million seems like a lot.
Yeah,
for
probably
a campaign.
Yeah, 10,000. Probably
towards his campaign. But then the article came out, and he was like, "You're not the man I thought you were."
I was confused. Oh, that was the guy's dad, right? The one
Yeah.
that died. Ed
Mhm.
McKay's dad. Yeah, right.
Who he was had a falling out with because when he wasn't the man he thought he was once he was in office, so they hadn't spoken in years.
Yeah,
Because
because he was shady.
he was taking money to be under Angela's
Yep.
thumb, and I'm sure some other people.
The only thing did you understand the water stuff? I was confused with that. I'm like, what about the water supply? I'm confused about it. I don't. What did they want?
I don't know.
Like, I was-
Because the guy that
I don't-
that shot and killed the original person that was in office, I don't remember his name.
Right.
He said that he moved to the valley to start his own vineyard, and they didn't have enough water supply, so his vineyard died. And Angela had mentioned something about how her great grandfather or grandfather built all the irrigation or the pumps, the water pumps in the valley. So I guess that means they had access to be able to turn it off so that water wouldn't be distributed to that part of the valley, and that's how it died. Maybe.
Okay. As I was so confused with that, I'm like, what exactly do the people want with the water? I was like, can they not get water? Do they only get very limited amounts? Like, I don't know. I was a little confused with the water situation. But that makes sense why his vineyards would die, I guess, if he didn't have water, because they don't get rain in California that often. So that would make sense.
That is true. Mm-hmm. The guy ends up getting out of prison and put in the hospital because he attempts suicide, which I think was a fake attempt. It was just to get him into the hospital so he could escape.
Right.
I was so when he was in the hospital bed and then the cop came into the room and he knocked him out, I was expecting him to come out of the room in the cop's uniform. I was like, oh, we're just in our regular clothes? I'm like, okay.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I would have probably switched to at least the top. I don't know.
But he ends up making his way to Angela's house and has her at gunpoint. And Chase kind of talks.
Wasn't it knife? Did he have a gun or a knife? It was a knife, yeah, because he handed it to Chase.
It was a knife because at one point, I was like, okay, so at one point when he still had the knife, but he let Angela go, I thought he was going to think because he killed somebody that his life was over and he was just going to stab himself. But then that didn't happen. And I was like, in a more modern show, that probably would have happened, but not in the 80s. Right. But Chase ends up winning the election, much to Angela's chagrin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that episode ends.
She was in her dark office listening to the results.
Yes, in her 90.
Yeah. Oh, and we were going through Emma. Didn't she steal? She shoplifted.
Oh, she shoplifted. Yeah.
And then Angela blames Julia. Like, you wanted her out. You said she could go out sometimes.
And Angela
oh, Lord.
Angela says that she owns the company that gave him the loan, the owner of the store, the loan to do the inside of or redesign the store or whatever.
Right.
So she could easily call in that loan or whatever. And he's like, you're bluffing. She's like, really care to call my bluff? So he dropped the charges. They were really going to put her in jail for shoplifting.
I know, right? She probably would have been in there like a week. They would have seen how unstable she was. She could be out. Poor Emma.
She probably. Why do I keep forgetting how she says it? The tricks. What's tricks or
how's tricks?
How's tricks?
How's tricks?
I can't retain how she said it. How's tricks to everybody?
But don't you wonder too, why Margaret Ladd is not in the credits? She's in it so much. I feel like everything revolves around her, and she's I don't understand. It must have been a pay thing back then. She probably made $100 an episode.
It's very strange that happened, considering the initial plot, it revolves around her in the pilot and throughout the season.
Right.
The
whole season.
You would think if like they were just going to use her for that one episode and then send her away like to an institution, right. But they had her on the show the whole time.
And every episode, it's like also starring Margaret Ladd or whatever, and I'm like, what is that?
But they did that on Knots Landing too, like with the kids, like who were on 5 seasons, 6 seasons.
Right. Yeah, I don't think Paige was added until like 5 seasons from when she started.
Yeah,
maybe,
well, she was
maybe 3. I might be over dramatizing that.
She
was on a lot though. Before.
She definitely wasn't on for 8 and 9, and then maybe 10 they added her.
Right.
But even
they added her when the credits slowed down.
Even Diana, Claudia Linnell, she was on since the pilot, and they didn't add her till season 5, and then they barely showed her for the second half of season 5. Granted, that was due to personal issues with the actress, but still.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Crazy.
It has to be a pay thing or contractual thing.
It had to, yeah. But it's a shame because she deserves all the money because she's excellent.
Maybe she didn't have a good manager that got her a good contract.
Probably not. Yeah, and there was, women hardly made anything on TV back then.
Really? That's sad.
Oh yeah, that's why Suzanne Summers was fired. She wanted equal pay with John Ritter. She got fired, like on Three's Company. Like that type of stuff all the time happened.
Wow,
it's a shame. So yeah, usually when you see a woman written out, that's why, because they wanted more money, and then they got fired.
Damn.
Yep. They had to fight, and then you either lose or you win. Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else to say about that episode?
No, don't think so. No, I think that's about it.
Well, I'm very excited for our next episode where we cover the show because we'll be finishing season 1. And we'll be getting into season 2 after that, which is one of my favorite seasons. You know what? As I was watching the show, I felt like every season I watched became my new favorite season. I was just like, this show just keeps getting better every season.
Right. That's exactly why.
Season 6, it got a little shaky.
I agree 100%. I think there was a writing change or a writer change, and I think it was like good, but not like as good as the first 5 seasons.
Yeah.
I feel like they're pretty on point.
Still watchable though, and I still enjoyed it.
Right. For sure. But it's more like I feel like they kind of are like, here, let's get this guest star for 3 episodes. Let's get this guest star for, just to like get ratings or like.
I remember texting you because we were kind of like racing each other in our watch, which I've since abandoned since we started doing this again. I'm back in season 1.
I stopped too. I think I'm in season 7 somewhere, but I think you got ahead of me.
But I remember when I texted you that I started season 6, and you're like, "Get ready, it's very guest star heavy."
Mm-hmm.
Or was that 7?
Yeah, I think 7 is.
It was one of them. It was 6 or 7. You said that it was guest star heavy.
Well, I think it started kind of in 6 with Kim Novak guest starring.
I liked her
the whole season. I did too. I liked her too. I didn't like her the first time I saw her in the series because I didn't know how she was. I didn't know her as an actress at all. So once I saw her older stuff, I was like, okay, that's how she is, and I get it. So I don't know. I did like her a lot the second time.
I ended up watching that movie, The Mirror Cracked, after I had texted you. Because I was like, I knew you would know what movie it was. So when she told me, I was like on a mission to find it.
Did you like it?
I liked it a lot. Yeah.
It's cool.
It was almost like Angela Lansbury was playing Jessica Fletcher before Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah, right. Probably how she got it. They're probably like, good her for that.
But
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another edition of Don't Touch My Grapes. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. Until next time, have a great night. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
How's tricks?